Welcome to the Land, your bet sports betting show. Getting ahead of these Western Conference final play-in game that we've got between the Kings and the Pellies. Also have the Eastern Conference game. Dove through that really deeply for those Bulls and Heat, as we know that we're not going to have any Jimmy Butler in that one. No Zion in this one. So we'll take a look at how that impacts everything. Also got the Discord up. So link is in the description of the video. Want to check that out. I'm getting some really good plays from everybody in there, hopefully helping them as much as they're helping me at this point, because we got some really smart folks in there. So don't miss the chance to get some early plays and some really good insights in the Discord. But for now, let's jump into that Western Conference playing game. For the Kings, we know they're still without Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk. Everybody else, though, that has been playing for them over the last couple weeks is healthy and good to go. Got Keon Ellis in that starting lineup, who has been a three-point threat for them over the course of the last couple games, hit 3 of 4 against the Dubs there. So they'll rely on a lot more of him, and we can expect all the players that we saw last game to be there for this Kings team. For the Pels, not quite the same case. We know they're going to be without Zion Williamson, who frustratingly got hurt with that hamstring in that loss to the Lakers in that last game. So we'll probably have Trey Murphy slide right into that starting lineup as we've seen him do. We're going to take a look at how that is going to impact things as well without Zion in there, and which players might be getting the bulk of the stats in his absence. On the season, these teams are both pretty middle of the pack in a lot of ways. That Kings defensive rating actually got a lot better. Offensive rating dropped after they lost guys like Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. You're going to see a lot more defense when you've got time coming from Keon Ellis and Davion Mitchell as your backup guard there as well. So their defense, much better. Like I said, offense, okay, because they're playing at a much slower pace as well. That's the interesting part here. We've seen a lot of unders from this Kings team as of late. Both teams, 9th, 10th rebounding percentage, don't give much of an edge to either, although Zion, obviously, his absence will be a pretty big deal for the rebounds. We can look at that here in one sec. And then the effective field goal percentage on both sides of the ball, pretty good on offense for both these guys. And then on defense, the Kings struggling against jump shooters, to be honest with you, as they've given up the 21st defensive effective field goal percentage on the season. And the Pellies, a little bit better than middle of the pack in most things, as they've been for the entirety of the season. Looking at the matchup on offense for Sacramento, we're going to see them definitely get into the paint a bunch. And that is why I think we'll see a bunch more Joval and those bigs for the Pelicans, as they're going to need to stop the attack for this Kings team, as they love to go get everything downhill going towards the rim. They've been really good limiting points in the paint, though. I will say that for the Pellies on the season, 5th best in terms of limiting those points in the paint to their opponent. But the above the break 3 might be a bit of an issue, as well as that corner 3. And that's going to be a big part of what we're going to see here from this Pellies defense. Is they're going to be pressuring the ball, high ball pressure, definitely like to attack the person with the ball in their hands. That does leave corner 3s available, and the Kings will find Harrison Barnes. They'll find Keegan Murray, especially, who just absolutely left his body in that last game with hitting 8 threes against the Dubs. If he's given those opportunities, especially with that hot hand, could be some trouble for the Pellies if they're not able to keep the perimeter defense really intact for themselves against this really dangerous Kings 3-point offense. And in transition, even though the Kings have slowed things down, if the Pels don't get back on defense, they're bottom 15 and bottom half of the league in terms of giving up transition points. And this Kings offense is going to look to keep getting in transition, even if it's not quite the fast break, right? And you can't consider it a fast break point. They do like to get it and go. Guys like De'Aaron Fox, who can get the rebound and then lead the fast break, could be a problem for them. They'll also need to take care of the ball, though, because if you don't take care of the ball against this Pellies defense, they'll use their long, rangy wings to get a lot of steals and then turn that into quick transition points. Guys like Herb Jones want to get out and run. Trey Murphy as well, as he's going to get a few more minutes. Obviously, Zion would have been really helpful for them as well, and that is going to be something they'll probably be suffering a little bit more at in terms of getting those points off of turnovers the way they do when he's out there, and those transition points. But we'll see how they do in general as far as keeping the pace at a pretty slow pace when they don't have Zion in there. Looking at this Pellies offense, it's interesting about how they attack the rim. Now, they are 10th in rim frequency on the season. However, Zion Williamson is taking more than 10 shots per game inside of 5 feet. Nobody else even touches 4. In fact, Joval takes the second most at about 3.5 attempts inside of 5 feet. Nobody else even takes 3 after him, right? So there's a lot of jump shooting going on around Zion and somewhat Joval as well. But this King defense is actually better than you might think at defending stuff around the rim. They do allow the 4th fewest points per game inside of 5 feet, although they also allow very few attempts inside of 5 feet. teams tending to take a lot more jump shots and hit shots in the paint extended area rather than right next to the basket. Zion was the dude that was going all the way to the rim, and I don't think anybody was going to stop him on the Kings, but obviously they don't have that now. So that's probably pretty correlated to this free throw rate, where you see them having a massive advantage with the Kings giving up the 6th most free throws, at least the 6th worst free throw attempt rate to their opponents. And they were taking the 7th most in terms of that free throw rate for this Pelly's offense. But once again, that was a huge Zion was a huge part of that. He was the whole part of that, basically, in terms of how often they got to the free throw line there. Also, with the fast break points, they do like to get out in fast break, but the Kings get back on defense very well. 2nd fewest fast break points allowed to their opponent. And without Zion, this will be a little bit slower for the Pellies as well. A lot more half court, a lot more jump shooting from guys like Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, and even Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. So it's going to be a lot more jump shots for this Pellies offense, and they're going to need to take care of the ball because, I mean, even the way that this Kings team has slowed things down, they will get it and go, both on the in terms of once they get a turnover, right? They're decent at getting those steals, definitely play some pretty good ball pressure up top. And that's how come they have the 12th most turnovers that they're forcing, 14th in terms of points off of turnover. So they are turning a good amount of those turnovers into points. But the Pels have done a really good job of limiting that all season. So that is why I kind of lean to the under. Everything here between these two offenses tells me this game is not going to have quite as many points as maybe we just saw in the other games between these two teams. With Zion out, though, we do need to look at who does what when he's off the floor. Trey Murphy, we start with him because he does come into the starting lineup when Zion is out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he does that much better. Now, he does get 4 more points, almost 3.5 more points per game. Everything else is pretty much the same, though. So if you're looking to hit some Trey Murphy over props, probably going to be the 3-point line and the points in general, as everything else is pretty similar. Zion gobbles up a lot of the rebounds that maybe Trey Murphy gets. We definitely took advantage of a lot of Trey Murphy stats without Brandon Ingram, but he and Zion aren't quite doing the same stuff. So it's not like he's really a perfect sub for Zion. Similar case for CJ McCollum, only 1.8 points more when Zion is out. Good amount. I mean, almost 2 shots more as well. So there's a slight uptick in his props and his stats when Zion's not on the floor. But at the same time, like, these props are very, very high for him now. I think he's at 23.5 points at this point. The threes are like no juice for taking over 3.5 threes. So I haven't yet quite put a bet in on CJ or Trey Murphy for that matter yet. I'm considering it for Trey Murphy a little bit more so than CJ McCollum, as there's just not a big enough jump in stats with and without Zion for me to feel that comfortable about McCollum. However, once we start diving into the big men for these Pelicans team, that's where we start to see maybe some value with them playing without Zion, especially Valanciunas. And everything here tells you, yeah, there's going to be a big jump in stuff for him, about 5 more minutes per game, more than 5, almost 6 actually points per game more without Zion in the game, as you can see there. The field goal attempts go up by about 2.5 as well, 2 more boards, and 1 more assist, as there's just a lot more ball to go around for him as the down low player at this point. So you're going to see the shots inside of 5 feet go up for Joe Val. You're going to see pretty much everything go up for. This next slide is actually kind of why I like Joe Val even more than I do just looking at his stats. Larry Nance does not get quite the same amount of run when there is no Zion Williamson. And that makes a ton of sense, right? You need size. Larry Nance, as good of a rebounder as he is, as quality of a player as he is and has been for a long time now, he's not the size that you might need, especially against somebody like Domas Sabonis, right? So you actually see his minutes drop without Zion out there. Coach Willie Green likes to play the 2 of them together to have 2 smaller in terms of height bigs, but still 2 very good rebounders and very big athletic dudes that can at least double team guys down low and really keep guys off of the boards as a sort of cohesive unit. But when they don't have Zion, you really need a true center in there because everywhere else they're kind of small, right? They're going to rely on big wings that aren't necessarily down low players to be in the game a lot more, like Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, etc. But they're going to need an actual center. So Larry Nance's stuff all drops. The assists actually right around the same. He actually gets about a half of assist more, gets over 2 there consistently without Zion, but still not necessarily able to play anything other than small ball center, which he doesn't do very often, only 17 minutes per game when Zion's not on the floor. Which is why my first 2 bets for this game are for Joe Val, because it's just a perfect opportunity to continue to take advantage of him. 21.5 PR, something he's gone over very consistently, putting 0.7 units on that because I also threw 0.3 units on the double-double for him. Really just need him to get the 10 boards because I feel very confident about the points at 11.5. If you want to take that as a single bet as well, no problem with that. He's gone over in 6 of his last 7 versus Sac, which isn't nothing because his minutes go up when he plays Sac. And I love to find these situations where a center needs to play a few more minutes because the other center on the other team is somebody that needs to be dealt with, right? And that is what Domantas Sabonis is someone that needs to be dealt with. That's why you see Joe Val's minutes rise by more than 4 minutes per game compared to his average on the season once he gets up against this Kings team and has to take on his fellow Lithuanian, Domas Sabonis, right? You see huge spikes in his stats when he plays the Kings. You see huge spikes in his stats when Zion's not on the floor. We just showed you all the stuff there that goes up for him considerably when there is no Zion in the game. And like I said, less Larry Nance without Zion means more Joe Val without Zion means more stats for Joe Val. So I'm taking him both on the PR over that as well as the double-double for Valanciunas here. And that is all the time that we have for you in this one. Do subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Jump in that Discord. Link in the description of the video. Yep. And then also going to continue to be following along with these live streams. Got one tomorrow, Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, as we're doing each and every weekday that we got games. And then on the weekends, going to get that going at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So a little bit earlier. Going to have it going during the Magic and Cavs game on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we'll get that going before these games start. Going to have some really good guests as well. So you don't want to miss that. Some really good prop guys that are going to be coming on the show here, including DK DFS, one of the best, honestly, one of my favorite, if not my favorite prop guys in the business right now, has some incredible insights. So looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Join us for that. And until I see you next, happy betting.